Yo, how's it going, everyone? Back here once again, just the classic, the good old talk. And yeah, we're just here. Hopefully, you're having a nice day or night, having a chill morning. And yeah, I just want to talk about the feeling of growing up. And time's always moving, we're always growing. And yeah, I guess this is growing up, right? You go to school for so many years, or you learn at this place for so many years. You make memories, you learn, you live. You kind of just do all these things. You find these gloves that you try all these new things that a lot of people do, or a lot of people don't do. There's all these different routes you could take down in life, but one thing that's for sure is you're gonna have to grow up. We're gonna have to age. You know, we'll make it to 20, and if you don't, well, that's unfortunate. But we're always gonna be going. I understand that growing up is it's a bit tough. I'm not gonna lie. Things are looking kind of crazy out here, in these current times, and it's just kind of making me feel a bit unsure. At the same time, I'm also just willing to do whatever it takes and just figuring out more about myself and what I want to do. And I could thank these videos and also the support I've been getting. Really, any of the support I've gotten really helps me and just kind of fuels me up in the greatest ways, and I'm just very grateful. And yeah, when you're growing up, you kind of want to find something that fuels you up, right? And keeps you happy and keeps you motivated. It's definitely hard, depending on the person, depending on your mood, depending on how you wake up, and just depending on what your life situation is. Because, there was once upon a time where I was living kind of on my own, not really, but, I just had to learn a lot, to figure things out by myself a lot, and just tell myself to not fear too much, to not be too scared, or else you'll die. I mean, that's really how I used to think is, if you mess up, too much or make such a big mess up, you're basically dead, and want to be like that. But when it comes to growing up, you gotta figure all these things out, and sometimes you're not really gonna know how to do things or maneuver around certain situations, and it's definitely harder for certain people. And for me, I never had a dad, so I kind of just had to rely off of other people or maybe their parents. A lot of things I just kind of went in blind, and to me, learning so many things just kind of made me realize, okay, well, at least now I got this down, and it's going to be very useful because in the future I could teach this to others. And that's kind of how I feel like right now with these videos. And there's a lot of growth going on, and it's just kind of nice because I can see that sometimes what I say can kind of inspire others and make others grow with their minds and how they walk through life. It's important to also have reminders and attributions and such. You got to remind yourself, okay, got to wake up. And it might not always be the easiest. You might not always feel, the best, but it's just a day, and every day is different. So let it pass the way it shall pass. And growing up is, it's still new to me. I'm still so young. I'm almost 21, and it's just pretty crazy because I'm at the point where I could start doing more stuff. And obviously I'm not gonna really do that much different. But it's still kind of mind blowing to me that just a few years ago I graduated. I got a diploma, and I worked so hard, but I didn't at the same time. The thing with school is no one really tells you how tough it's gonna be, right? I mean, I watched this one show. It's like an older show. It's called Boy Meets World. I don't know if anyone here knows about it. I watched it while I was in high school, and it really helped me because there's this one teacher, and his name is Mr. Feeney, and obviously it's like a show, right? Sitcom, nothing serious, but there were so many times, so many quotes from him that really just kind of helped me. And I still think about him to this day, just these quotes and these words, that like all these beneficial words. And I remember during school, I wish there was like a teacher that could be so inspirational like him. And there's a couple of cool teachers. I was cool with some teachers, but nothing crazy like that. I just think the way time works is so crazy because, you could look back on so many things, but you can't really look forward at anything because you haven't been forward. You haven't been to the future, and neither of us have. And I mean, I think time travel does exist. I'm pretty sure it does exist, actually. I kind of heard something about it a few days ago. But, you'd have to like travel like a million light years or something. And then if you come back to Earth, it's like so many years past. I forgot, but something like that. Even right now, there's still growth in me and in you. I mean, I just took a walk not too long ago, a couple of days ago, and it was in the morning. It was very chill and it was peaceful. I went down a path I used to walk down a lot when I was younger. It's crazy to see how much it changed. I saw a couple tents. There's like some homeless people, and no disrespect, but it has changed. Trees and branches have been cut down, and I just think it's insane. And I just kind of sat at the water. Well, not really sat, but I stood and I just kind of looked down it and I just think, wow, this water, it's always flowing, just like we're always growing. And sometimes there might be a storm and that will fill us up with too much water. But then when the sun hits, suddenly there's not so much water and it's just the perfect amount. I guess that's how life is, right? We get overwhelmed sometimes and it gets pretty stressful and scary, but another times it's pretty peaceful. It's quite lax. And yeah, when it comes to growing up, it's not all gonna be so bad and worrisome, and it really isn't. But at the same time, there's definitely a lot to, I guess, just be on your guard with and just take things naturally, take things as they come. All you can really do is control your emotions. What's happening around you, you can only control so much. And I've realized that as I've grown, and I'm getting better with that, controlling how I feel about certain things and how to act on certain things and how to initiate on certain things, and also think and imagine things. And if you're watching this, you could use that for yourself too. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you're at. I mean, I've been in so many different places in my life, mentally and physically, that no matter what, I just will always think and imagine and do all these things that I feel are right. And you just got to do what feels right. And growing up, we kind of start to realize what we want more in life, our priorities, our needs, our wants, our dislikes. And, I'm pretty set on all of that for myself. And I think that's the one of the best things you could do, kind of get a list down. What don't you like? What do you like? What do you want to do? What don't you want to do, right? You just kind of have these preparations. And at the same time, you're going to have some revelations. And so many creations are bound to happen. Well, I guess this is growing up. One of my favorite lyrics from Blink 182 song. And I just think about it to this day. And I listened to it since I was like 18. And I thought, at the time, oh man, I'm so grown. I'm so old, man. Where's my wheelchair? But no, man. Now, later on, right now, I'm like, whoa, this is growing up. 2 years later, it's gonna be like that. And I don't know. I guess those lyrics just stick with me. And that's kind of how I got the inspiration for this video and title and such, and just these thoughts and ideas. I think what I will say though is when it comes to growing up, you're gonna be, bigger, stronger, and kind of have more of a bigger mind. And so what I've done is trying so many things out, and continuously I will try so many things out. So I would say that's like another great thing, try all these things out, try these new foods, move to some new place. I mean, why not, right? There's so many cool things that could happen. There's life-changing things could happen. You could literally meet someone, anyone, and it could change the course of your life, for good or bad. But let's hope for the good part. Climb all these mountains, check out all these views. There's so much views. Honestly, I feel like growing up is living it up because, I mean, there's one thing too, when you're a kid, you really want to grow up, but when you're an adult or an elderly person or whatever, you just kind of want to go back to being a kid. But I will say one thing is, me personally, I'm going to keep that youthful energy. I'm going to be like Guy Sensei from Naruto. Keep that energy, man. Keep that youthful energy. Have a son like Rock Lee, you feel me? It's that youthful energy, it keeps you alive, it keeps you growing, it keeps like I guess a fire burning inside of you and a passion to not only, do things, but also just to be alive and to keep living. That's growing up though. There's so many ways of looking at it, but you might look at it differently than me, but that's all right. Maybe this will change your mind a bit. I feel as if that's all I've had to say today. This was pretty chill. If you stuck around though, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I really just hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night. And yeah, it's alright to grow up, even if things might look a bit unsure in the future. It's always gonna be like that, and if I'm gonna be good, I believe you'll be good. Nonetheless, it's time for me to eat a Pop-Tart now, so gotta go. See ya.